Welcome to the First Turn. Today, Llama and I have a special guest, Dracoya, whom we will be talking to about the painting side of the hobby and about her painting journey. If you like what you hear, give us a like, thumbs up, follow, subscribe, or share. All right, let's get to it.
Cool.
Well, welcome, special guest, Dracoya. Did I say that right? Even if I mispronounced the art?
Dracoya, yeah, you got it.
All right. Last time we did this with you was almost a year ago at Adepticon.
Yeah.
So
been a long time.
So what has the last 11 months been? The journey for you as a hobbyist? What goals did you have that you achieved? What ones did you fall short of? What did you have to change? Answer all of that. Go.
It has been... Oh, wow. Okay. It's been a crazy last year. I mean, personally, it's just been a very bad stream of bad luck. But professionally, it has been a very interesting year full of ups and downs and amazing opportunities and dashed dreams all in the last year. Right now, I very much feel like I'm going through what Steve Jobs went through, where he just retracts himself from society, gets a wood cabin for 6 months, and decides to just do that. And that's kind of where I'm at. But I think that's not a bad place to be, because that's kind of where that's your cocoon phase, where you go more into yourself and you figure out what's really important to you and you focus on what it is you really need to focus on. And I think that I lost my happiness when it came to the painting and this hobby for a little bit there. But I definitely do think that I'm starting to get it back. And I'm hoping that this year I can come back with a boom and go into some competitions and really, achieve something.
So while you're in the cocoon, you're still working on things. You haven't stopped.
Oh,
to gain happiness, you haven't put it out.
You just have less space to work with. Yeah.
Right.
No, right. And I think that's what a lot of creators in our hobby, and not just in our hobby, but a lot of creators, they feel this, they're getting burnout. You've got social media that's making more and more ridiculous demands and giving less and less of that dopamine back. And then you've got more and more people whose projects are falling short, and, things are just so chaotic right now that for me right now, I've taken a huge step back from social media, and I've just been painting for my own pleasure and my own happiness, and going back to the reason that I started this to begin with. And I think a lot of people need to do that, and they don't realize it. And they're feeling all this pressure from other people in our community, or they are feeling pressure from social media saying, oh, well, you have to continue to post and do all these things. But you don't,
Right.
You should do what makes you happy, because that's what's important.
And is that a part of why you pursued that fantastic piece that you challenged yourself with, the Gamescape one, where you gave yourself like a limited color palette, the lady who's on the cake looking thing?
Oh, that was part of it. I actually, that was the Great Grimoire is the company. I don't want to misquote anybody. It was Great Grimoire that had that piece, and I love that piece. But that actually started because I was going to be doing a class on color theory, and there was a challenge given to me by Scale 75 USA that I could only use primary colors. It was their basic set, which had your primary colors, your burnt umber, black, white. And he said, go ahead and have magenta and turquoise, because those are very hard colors to mix. Everything else, you got to figure it out yourself. And it was a great experience. I had so much fun playing with color and figuring that out. By the way, I appreciate your help. You were so helpful in figuring out which direction I was supposed to go on there. I think that's the other thing I want to emphasize with our community members. Like, it's okay to ask other people for feedback and help, because a new fresh of eyes can really help your art.
Well, and I might not have had any suggestions, but I just looked at what you'd already done, and then was able all of a sudden it would come to me, and I just offered you a suggestion. It seemed to work. You kept going, and it kept looking great. So yeah.
Yeah, no. So that piece, I'm still finishing it up. I took a pause on that because there were some political things that happened, but basically the class that I had been working so hard to have the PDF copy and that miniature, it all fell through.
Oh.
And so I stopped. I know that's where I was just, you know what? I'm done. I'm going to take a step back. I took a full couple of weeks. I didn't post. I didn't respond to anybody. I sat in my pajamas and watched cartoons. It was great. But now it looks like I will be moving forward with the class with that game store in my area. So I'm very excited about that. That is going to be on the books any week now. I'm finishing it up. We are going to be doing the color theory course there. So that's very exciting. But I think it was a really good challenge, and I highly recommend any painter who's trying to increase their skills does that. Now I'm not nearly as afraid of mixing colors as I used to. And, you know, you can buy 200 colors for sure, but when you understand color theory and how to mix your own palette, it gives you a much greater appreciation for what you're doing. And it does make your painting a lot easier in the long run.
I also think you can, for people who are doing display or even competition things, or maybe they just have a theme for an army or a set, and you're trying to make it look cohesive, being able to mix your colors allows you to include the same color throughout the piece without just having to grab another pot. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a paint addict. I own hundreds of paints from every brand, but but it's invaluable to be able to mix with a limited range for just that. And so how did you get interested in teaching other people how to paint like that in that live workshop setting?
It started with, I was posting things on social media and people would contact me and they would say, hey, Dracoya, how do you do this? How did you do that? I don't understand how that happened. And I was like, oh, well, let me help you figure this out. And what really started it was a friend of mine messaged me and he's like, I have no idea how to paint color yellow. I am just so lost. Yellow is a hard color. It's a primary color. I don't get it. And I'm like, great. I don't either. So let me figure it out. And I figured it out and I showed him how to do it. And he made this amazing tank that has just these amazingly orange and yellow and white hues to them. It looks so rad. And from there, I just started realizing how much I can increase my skill by teaching others and passing it forward.
It's an interesting way to learn while teaching.
Yeah.
It's like,
I don't know. But that's kind of the best way to teach, right?
Right.
You have a question and you're like, well, I don't have an answer. Let me figure that out for
discovery.
you. You know, that's one of the best ways to do it.
Yeah. You've been showcasing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still finding things all the time. Somebody messaged me.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Somebody messaged me about skin colors and they said, well, you know, there's not a lot of people who are certain ethnicities in our group. And I was like, you know, that's true, which is why I actually chose to make that lady on the cake African-American, because I'm like, well, there should be some diversity here. And how you would paint African-American skin is so different than how you would paint Caucasian skin. And me being Caucasian all day, like, that's easy. I see that all the time, but I don't see somebody of a different complexion.
Mm-hmm.
I actually am not guilty of that. Not guilty, but I fall into a rut when I start doing like skin, right? Where it's like, oh, I have a formula that I can do, right? And I know the formula and I'll do it across 20 models. I'm like, there's no difference here. Especially when it's like a diverse people, it should be, you know, where it's barbarians or something. It's like, everyone's not clean. Everyone's not, you know, pale. There's tanning. There's, you know, there's mud. There's
sunburn.
There's different ethnicities. Why am I painting it exactly the same every time? And so, like, I think we've done some practice, some challenges to ourselves where we've done that. I know he did one for, it was just faces. It was both face practice and it was skin tone practice, where it was like, I want to paint a Space Marine from all 18 Legions or whatever it was. Yeah. And so it's like, they're all very, very different. Some of them are fantastical. Salamanders, for example, they have
actual cold
ashen
black
skin.
skin.
You know,
right?
it's not like brown tones. It's
Right.
literally cold gray. And like doing that as a skin tone, it's like
That is hard.
Yeah.
it was really it turned out really well. Like there was
It was a lot.
every single one was completely different. But it was like you use so many different colors and they all read as skin. You know, and so I think it's funny because a lot of painters when they start don't realize that. It's like you can use whatever colors you want. You can still make it look like what you're looking to pull off, right? Like metals, steels, and silvers. You don't need to use gray. Like we used the entire rainbow really to make metal work all the time.
Yes.
It's like you can make it work no matter what.
Yeah, sometimes it's getting the temperature or the light correct. And going back to your color theory point, Dracoya, was like when looking at like a darker skin tone, sometimes it's thinking about what that color, your base color, is made of. And so if you're doing a skin that maybe has a browner or darker complexion, sometimes you need to think like that the browns are like made of oranges or purples, and then you can actually highlight and shadow from there instead of just mixing it with white, and you'll get a more interesting and readable skin tone.
Exactly.
You know what color I never use anymore? White.
I rarely use it.
Like I've got whites that are like
what color?
Yeah, you know, because it's like it never works the way I want it to, right? Like either the formulas for white paints just stink, right? Like most of them, they're chalky, they're lumpy, you know, whatever. They don't work. So I just don't use white anymore. You know, there's so many that are just
Now, the other bust I've seen you working on lately, that lady with the hood. I loved whatever it was you did to come up with the stencil, the freehand, whatever that pattern is. Looks like it would have driven me nuts or taken me hours and hours and hours. Like, how did you come up with that?
So it did take hours and hours and hours.
Okay.
It took me probably like 36 hours just to do that first layer of freehand. So I would really recommend anyone who's trying to push themselves, go to a class, take a bunch of classes. I took a ton of different classes this last year, and most of them I walked out and I'm like, I didn't learn anything. Why did I spend $400 on that class? That's nuts. But if you just go to a class and you just can pull out one thing from that course, it is well earned. It's something. So in one of my courses that I have taken, it was about embroidery and freehand and how you can create these beautiful golden embellishments like on the bottom of your cape and give it depth. Because a lot of people, what they do is they have a red cape and they just draw a yellow line and they draw a brighter yellow line and they're like, well, this doesn't really look great. So the freehand that you've seen, fortunately, I'm going to be doing that about 5 times to give it the effect that I really want. But that bust was by Ritual Casting. I chose it because, first of all, she's a beautiful, sexy, empowered woman. And who doesn't like that? I love painting women, don't we all? And and also the sculptor, he is so great in his detail. And a lot of his sculpts, they're very advanced and they have patterns already on them. So it looks like it is freehand. And to anyone who doesn't want to do it, you can just paint over it and no one would really know a difference. It would almost look like a little bit of a texture. But I wanted to honor this beautiful pattern that was there. And one other thing that I learned from a different class is you have to be consistent with your brush strokes. You have to make sure that you use the exact same brush throughout this whole process. You have to use the exact same paint, the exact same amount of paint, and you have to make sure you're applying it in the same direction and at the same level of pressure throughout the entire freehand process. It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, when did you take that class?
The first freehand course I took last year at ReaperCon, and the second course that taught me a little bit more on brush consistency and pressure, I took a few months ago with Ivan Hortle.
Okay. Well, you were able to relay that to teaching pretty quick. When I was working on my little ranger fellow who's hanging out with his dog, and I wanted to do some embroidery around the hood of his cloak, you had an idea right away, at least for the color and how it would work. And it turned out, so Thanks for that. And I got that course for free.
Oh, it looks awesome. That cloak looks amazing. I do not know how you did that. I'm practicing my freehand on a much bigger scale, and to do it on such a small scale is ugh.
Well, I think on a bigger scale, it might even be harder because the detail comes under much greater scrutiny. You're covering a huge space with that, so you're going to see something inconsistent. I can kind of cheat on something that's really little, you know. So I got away with only having to spend
That's true.
a teeny amount of time on that. You're trying to cover a whole, yeah.
I think it's
Well, my goal right now.
Sorry, go ahead.
You think what?
I was gonna say, I think it's interesting that like trying something new as an experienced painter, sometimes it does come a little easier than if you're starting out, because this guy's done freehand like 4 times total, and it's like so good. Like I practice a lot of freehand too, and like it never turns out as good. Like he's just natural at it.
Oh no, it never does for sure. My goal right now is to actually put her in a competition. Hopefully this year, I want to put her in a couple of different competitions, and hoping that the freehand combined with the depth of the skin tones will really push my painting to the next level.
Yeah.
Well, it looks great.
Yeah.
Like,
So
it looks super.
The progress so far is fantastic.
Well, thank you guys. So pro tip for anyone that wants to know, when you're doing this embroidery, you want to start out dark. I mean like dark burnt umber or black. That's completely fine. And then you're going to layer your lighter colors on top of that. But you're almost going to have your black look like this thick. And then you're going to have your next layer like 3/4 of that thickness. And the next layer is only going to be half of that thickness. And it builds up that way. And that's how you're going to get that NMM look without losing that that border of the embroidery on your cape or whatever it is you're painting.
Yeah. And so do you do any pre-sketching either with a brush or any other device before? Do you try it on something? Do you pre-sketch it on the model, or you just start going?
I do pre-sketch a little bit. I actually have about 4 different ones of her sitting here in front of me right now. Oh. I have redone her about 3 times right now, because what I started doing is I painted her black. I primed her black, and then I sketched it to be a different, I sketched it to be a different color, and it wasn't shining through. When I finally put color on it, that embroidery was not shining through the way I needed it to. The goal is to have her cloak be a very beautiful royal purple, and the embroidered part is going to be a gold with a little bit of a metallic shimmer. But I can't do that if I can't see that freehand through that purple, because it is going to be such a dark color.
Yeah, clever. You got to do it that way. How many more hours do you think you have in her?
I don't know. Days, weeks. I think if I only did the hood right now, and only the hood, I'm sure the hood alone would take me a couple of weeks, I would say, just focusing on that. And then you've got your skin, the skin tone alone. So if you look at my Instagram, you can see that Viking from last year that I did. That skin alone took, I want to say 30 hours. And so you've got 30 hours on her skin tone plus 3 weeks on the freehand, not to mention all the other details on her. So it's going to be a hot minute, I would say.
But you're enjoying most of it. It doesn't feel just like a chore.
No, and that's what I had to stop and get back to. I stopped doing the candy on a cake lady, partly because, you know, I have ADD, so everything's shiny and new, but also because after I learned the bad news about the class, it hit me really, really hard, and I had to step back and figure out if this is even something I want to keep doing. Is this something I want to keep pursuing? How do I want to go about it? And so that's what I've done.
I mean, we hit that sometimes. Yeah. You know, like we're in the final stretch for painting for Golden Demon at this point. And afterwards, I think it's time for palette cleanser, kind of do something fun.
Yeah.
Because like it is a lot of work working on the same model every single time we sit down to paint. You know, it's
yeah, we do a collective paint night where a handful of us get together after store hours close, sort of burn the night oil working on, we're all working on projects for the Golden Demon at Adepticon. And like that requires like all this technical effort and then checking and rechecking. And so I am looking forward to not just that I see a light at the end of the tunnel with our projects, but I have so many models lined up where I get to do just then fun stuff, just mess around with new techniques and practice or whatever.
Because it's really been like the last 4 months you've been picking up. I mean, you don't stop ever getting new stuff. Right?
No,
that doesn't happen. But for the last 4 months, you've been getting new stuff. You're like, all right, well, that's put together now.
I gotta go.
I gotta wait.
Yep,
Here's another one I got.
Wait for him.
I gotta wait because I gotta finish this one and start around. So, just priorities and timelines.
I took a tally of all my files the other day. I think I have like 4,000 files from the last 3 years that I've just been slowly collecting.
Yeah.
No one's ever going to need that.
What do you have? What are the?
So what are?
Go ahead.
Sorry. What are you guys painting for Golden Demon? I want to know.
Well, I've been working on the pieces I've been showing off. It's coming together in one scene that's going to be in like the dual diorama category. Assuming I don't break it or something.
The one with the hound.
The hound, his hunter tracker friend, and the Dark Oath war chief, who's ambushing them both.
I'm working on just a single.
That's gonna look so sick.
And let me tell you, the pictures don't really do it justice. It looks so good in person.
Well, thank you.
Because you're just doing it with a camera phone.
Yeah.
And so it's like it looks good, but it's great.
Yeah.
I think he's got a real shot. I think he's got a shot.
See, Golden Demon is tough.
Yes, it is.
It's tough.
I don't expect to do anything with mine.
I wish I could see it.
Maybe we'll try to get some nicer, higher quality photos.
Yeah, I have the setup to take nicer pictures. I tell you what, Dracoya, I'll send you the first picture of it when it's completed before anybody else gets to see it.
Cool. Oh, I feel so special. Photography is always the hardest part for me. I feel horrible. That guy messaged me a few weeks ago. He's like, listen, Dracoya, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I can tell you're a really good artist and what you've done is a great job, but your pictures look like shit and it makes your model look like it was painted by a child. I'm like, thank you.
I think it's funny. There's for me.
He's not wrong.
There's a disconnect between like what I see in the phone or in the camera, and I snap it, and then I look, and it's different. It's a completely different thing than what I was seeing in the fighter. It's like, what? How did that happen?
And we get spoiled when we paint at the shop. It has this unusually great lighting for painting. Like it's so well lit, but not a spotlight, not blinding. It's just such great ambient light. And so we get used to that. And then we see it in any other light or through a phone. And it's just like, nope. But I do have equipment to take a good photo of it. Learned that from whatever her name is, the Savage Orc guy or whatever, Rogue Hobbies lady. Learned how to take good pictures of minis. So yeah, I'll do that. Hopefully it'll look good.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see entries this year, though.
Well, if you guys,
yeah, because they're not doing the back-to-back Golden Demons this year. They're not doing the one in the U.S. and then in the UK, March and April. Yeah. They're doing it in March, and then Games Workshop's waiting until October for the event in Essen, Germany. And so a lot of European painters are coming to this one this time, and so the competition is going to be steep. But I mean, that excites me. That inspires me.
I feel like that's better for a lot of people, because then it's not just there is more competition. You've got more European painters coming here, but now you can have more American painters going there.
Yep.
And American painters, we really need to step up our game, guys. Come on. Like,
it's true.
I think one of the things that helped me really level up my skills this year was that I started studying classical painting, and I started studying 2D painting. I am not a great sketcher by any means. Like, I stick figures all the way. But now the more I learn, I can at least have an appreciation for these things. I spend so much time at museums. On my model with the hood, the embroidered hood, I probably spent 5 hours just staring at somebody's face, just looking at all the different shadows and different textures and different ambient lighting that could be on this person's face. And then I spent another hour just looking at somebody's lips. That was it.
Yeah. Were they okay with you?
For my American painters, please step up your game. My favorite story I've ever heard from our group is there's a woman, her name is Africa. She is the lead sculptor for Chimera, and she sculpts all their stuff, and she's amazing. And she tells me about this. She was telling us about this one story. She was sculpting a man, and he had pants on, and they have live models, you know, sitting in front of them, posing, and she's just staring at his junk for like 6 hours. Trying to get all the folds in the sculpt right.
That's what she was doing.
Just the folds.
Yep. Sometimes you got to get something exactly right.
Got to get it exactly right.
Yep. Matters.
It's the folds that make the difference.
Yeah.
It's the folds that make the difference. You guys, if you ever try to do sculpting or 3D sculpting, that's what makes the difference between a good mini and a great mini. All the folds, all the wrinkles. That's the only difference.
You know, I guess if it's a weakness or an area I'm very inexperienced in the hobby is sculpting. In all my years on and off, I never really pursued it. And then I was hoping to take some classes for it this year to come, but they signed up or they got full instantly. So I still don't have much there for that, but I'd like to learn, even just to convert stuff.
Well, no, there's some other conventions,
right?
So I mean, there's other ones. There's other opportunities.
What events do you have? Hopefully, I mean, assuming some things work out for you, targeted to get to this year if you can.
Well, if my personal life doesn't allow me to travel the way I was hoping to this year, at the very least, I'm going to spend the rest of this year focusing on helping other people's Kickstarters and increasing my skill. I think that my skin tones are pretty phenomenal, but I would like to practice some other types of skin tones that have a lot of different ambient lighting, like different types of blues and different types of pink. If anyone saw the recent Spider-Man movie, Into the Spider-Verse, they use all these beautiful colors all the time, these blues and these pinks and these yellows, and I want to incorporate that into my next skin tone. I also want to focus on increasing my freehand and the embroidery and making sure that I can make things pop that way. But on the down low, I have started working with ZBrush and sculpting. So who knows, maybe if I spend this next year doing that on the side, then the following year I'll have my own Kickstarter.
That'd be sweet.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Definitely let us know about that, because I'd support.
Yep.
No, absolutely. I don't care what it is.
Yeah. Don't care what it is. Yep.
Good, bad. No, I'm sure it'll be good.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Thanks.
Cool.
Yeah. That was pretty much all I had at the moment. But
thank you for joining us. I mean, there were some tribulations getting it started. I think it took us about an hour.
Yeah, the technology was
to get
fun.
It worked out. So that was fun. We hope to look forward to at least running into you again somewhere. Right?
Yeah.
Get your stuff worked out so we can see you again.
I know you talked about us getting to a Reaper Con, but we'll see if that's an option too. But got to do this again. Got to do it live.
Yeah, well, I have so many friends coming to Reaper Con, Adepticon, and GaryCon this year, and I am so upset that because personal life hasn't worked out the way it's supposed to, I can't go to any of these events, at least not as things are right now. But who knows? Maybe I'll win the lottery tomorrow and I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. Should be like, who are you guys? I'm going to go sculpt. Well, tell everybody where they can find you, whether it's your classes or your social media.
Duh. So you can find me on Instagram, Dracoya Minis. I'm also on Threads and Facebook. I am going to be doing a lot more classes here in the San Francisco Bay Area, specifically with Gamescape in San Francisco. Gamescape. It is a really cool little store. I have become friends with the owners in the last few months, and they're opening their doors to me and seeing if I can't do more classes there. And my hope is that I can help the community here, because I think it really needs it. I really want to see some of my students, some of my friends excel and create something new within the next couple of years. So that's my goal.
Good.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That's all we got.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys, for having me. I appreciate it,
Thanks for
even
coming on.
with all the technical difficulties.
And then we'll have you on again.
Yeah.
And then I think there was
That would be great.
ideas of collaborative paint streaming. Well, I'm still down for that.
Yeah,
Whatever.
did you want to have us on for a paint stream?
I would love that. I haven't been doing streaming or Twitch lately. I've simply been recording on my own time. But yeah, I love that.
If that helps make streaming more fun, we're down. You know.
Yep.
Will we be bringing tequila? Because
I mean, we'll send a list of things to materials to acquire beforehand.
Yep.
So that we can all have the same thing.
Understood.
Yeah, because you still were supposed to make a drink for us, and if we can't do that, we'll send you the materials. You can make it. We'll follow your lead, and then paint.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. I'll find something real crazy. Something blue. Cool. All right. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, you too, guys.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed. Check out our new episodes every Friday on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Audible, or on Podbean. You can also follow myself and Llama on Instagram for more. We are at Hyena Paints Minis and at Llama Paints Minis. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. And as always, we